Uh, Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. This is really one of the more important conversations that we have at Global Chamber. The topic is global mindset and cross-cultural success. Also challenges because there's always things that go on that surprise us, even those of us that have been involved for many years. And then when world conditions are what they are, as they are today, very unusual, it creates additional issues and challenges. And I hope and expect opportunities as well. Certainly, the world is very dynamic right now. Lots of new business opportunities, lots of shifts, lots of change. AI is driving so many things. People need to be 2 feet on the ground, their head in the air with all of these things going by. And Mona, I'm not sure what the answer is, but I'm going to guess by speaking with you, we'll have a better understanding of what some are. Mona Cherkawi, the executive
Yes.
director of the Global Chamber Central Florida. She's an extraordinary leader, originally from Morocco, living in Central Florida and working around the world. She's got experiences everywhere, and you among you over others that we have at the Global Chamber have such a diverse background, and you understand it and you understand what to do and how to teach it. And so we've selected you for this quarterly meeting to lead our conversation. And hopefully, everyone in the room has something to give, something to contribute, something to ask about, something to share. And we hope this will be a very collaborative conversation. But we'll start with Mona. Mona, you were starting to say that you had a specific idea for this webinar, and then with all of the changes and all the things we're all going through, and you also that you've got some other ideas. So please take it away. Thank you for your leadership and thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I am so happy to be here because obviously I am with mindsets that I understand the world and understand what's going on. And I had a presentation. I said, forget about presentations. I want to talk to the group. I will share some things here. I will share a PowerPoint, but before I do, as I am talking and conversing about culture and world affairs, I'd like you to think about one thing, and that is our role right now as global leaders. And when I say global, I will explain what that means. We have been operating throughout my life, at least my life. We have been operating in a world relatively peaceful, relatively abundant. We have things um, accessible. There's Amazon, you order, everything is here and there. Now the world is changing. The world is changing as we know it, and we are moving to a new phase. And whatever that, yes, there is abundance of opportunities, that's for sure. But we have to also think that there will be scarcity of products, what's available. So, as far as I am concerned, I am always thinking, what is my role to better, first of all, understand what we have going on and orient others and lead others and have a better conversation with others for them to see the opportunities we have in the world. So I'd like to ask you a question before I start, and that's going to lead us to global mindset. How many here, and please participate, how many in here have dogs? Raise your hand if you have dogs. Nobody? I don't hear you, Jim. Okay, you have
Define what's doc?
a dog. Ho, ho.
Oh,
Anybody has or has dogs?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Doug. How about that?
Yes, even I have
When,
a pet dog.
okay, good. What I want you to answer this question. When they bark, what do you hear? What is the sound coming to you when they bark?
Well, the barks can be the communication for various reasons. Sometimes some strangers are ringing the doorbell, so they are not very happy with it. Sometimes they're happy when I get home and my dog sees me. So there are various reasons of barking. I mean, that's the way they communicate with you.
Yeah, well, what I want to get to here, what do you hear? The sound.
Yes.
The sound, the sound. How do you hear it? When they bark, they go, right, or whatever it is. What do you hear?
With our
Well,
dog,
I'm
we
a bit
hear a very
confused.
sharp barking because he's hungry usually, or
Okay,
he's scared, or
how
he's
does that
Yeah,
sound?
there is
Can you
a
tell?
lot of
Can,
variation.
yes, yes, yes. How does that sound? Just tell me what do you hear? They're barking. What do you
barking.
hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, how does it, the sound of it, when you receive that sound, when you hear that sound, what does it sound like? My daughter's dog, all I hear is, how does yours bark?
Well, sometimes very loudly, sometimes not much loudly, not very harsh, but trying to communicate something. So, as I said, the barking has a lot of variations. Would not be able to, like
So
tell in one
you,
way. Sometimes it's
well,
harsh,
let me
sometimes
make
it's
let me make it easy for you. I guess that the question probably I did not state the question correctly. What I wanted to hear is the sound. What exactly I did right now. And the reason I asked you this question because everyone that I talk to who has dogs, they hear different sound. In Japan, I would ask somebody in Japan, and what they hear is woof woof. I ask someone in Brazil, they hear. Huff. I ask someone in France, they hear. Woof. Okay, the sounds of what they hear comes out, or they receive in it differently, and that is exactly global mindset. How do we receive things, sounds, communication? How do we receive everything that is being said to us? To have a global mindset is basically knowing that what you hear and what you know may be different from what others do hear, what they receive. There's always, when we communicate, there is encoding and there is decoding. Encoding is when we send out our messages, thinking that we are sending the right message. There is a buffer right in between the receiving end, which is decoding, and that person who is receiving your message may not get what you are telling them. And to operate in a world and to operate in a global world, we have to be aware of this, that whatever we are accustomed to, whatever we were programmed with, is different than the other person. They may be right next to us. They may even be living in our same household. And to operate in a way that yields success in today's global world, we have to move forward with this mindset that I may not be right. It is my way. This is what I am accustomed to. But there are so many ways. There may be billions of ways, and everyone thinks their way is the right way. So when we are in a room of diverse people like this one, just know for us to come to an agreement, for us to work together in harmony, for us to see results, there's got to be this mindset right here thinking that everybody think differently, everybody assess things differently, and for us to achieve the result we want to achieve, we have to be open to listening and assessing to understand, not so much to respond or react. I do have I do have a PowerPoint and can I sh can you see my screen? No?
We don't, you'll
Oh,
need to share and then we'll see it.
okay. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. All right, share.
Now it's loading.
Okay, from the beginning. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to show you from the beginning. Come on. This one I had it a few years back, and I want to go back to the basics because we we always during this time or when we are operating in a time somewhat of a challenges, we've got to go back to the basics. So I am going to, is it, I want to play this. We can define culture in a number of different ways, but here's a fairly succinct.
It's not coming through really well, Mona.
Oh, it's not coming through well.
No, it's just little bits of it.
Oh, okay. Well, let me basically what I want to get to this is culture. Culture is basically programming, and we are operating in a world full of culture. Can
De un puñetazo porque ya va varias veces que te he querido pegar y en una de esas ya me tienes harta.
That was not me.
Oh,
Okay. So I just want to make sure that we understand this aspect of it. And when we are talking about culture, I'd like to share that we always think about the national culture, like in Japan or here in the United States or in Spain or what, but there are so many layers of cultures, layers of the national, regional, educational, religious, corporate, and individual. And when we are talking to individuals, I'd like you to keep this in mind that when you are talking to an individual, beside their cultural norm, beside what they've been programmed to believe and act based on, there's also that part of the nervous system. You're talking to somebody that comes with luggage, that comes with maybe situation in childhood, maybe whatever it is that comes on when you are dealing with them. It may be when you're building trust, you're seeing something different. When you're trying to get into an agreement, you're getting something different. They're not giving you a direct answer. There's so much involved. So when we are, again, as leaders, we've got our job is basically we've got to make the world better, the world around us better, the world we operate in better, and why not go out to the global village and make it known that we're all the same, but we do things differently. So our culture consists of many different aspects, and as much as we want to focus on the national aspect of it, I will tell you that other cultures are as important as the national culture. Somebody coming from a war-torn country will be operating with a different nervous system that someone living in front of a beach in a peaceful setting with plenty of food, water, and everything. So when you are encountering people, knowing their background is very, very important. Don't get into business right away. Try to understand who is in front of you, and perhaps perhaps when you know more, you will be able to change the course of the conversation for them to feel they're heard, they're seen, they're understood. Until that, until that time, you will not get their business. You will not get their attention and you will not get their collaboration because they're operating from a level of defense. I am being cautious, I'm aware, and you're not providing that space for them to be themselves and say, okay, I can relax. This is someone I can trust. This is someone that's not going to hurt me. So uh, that is very important. And of course, what is the impact of understanding that? I already said it. It's right there. It's you will establish better relationship if you work in team, making decisions and problem solving, etc. I will not go into situational examples because there are plenty of them. Culture A will think of it, you can read here, and culture B is thinking the total opposite. Where do we stand? Because obviously I consider myself someone who knows more than the average person because a lot of people are not exposed to the information we are exposed to here in the global chamber. And when we are looking at someone, you are looking at me. I am talking. All you see, I'm wearing green, yellow. My hair is somewhat done, and you're looking at the exterior. But really, the culture is what's beneath by here. What is appropriate? What is not appropriate? What is right? What is wrong? And once we pass the top side, the leaves, and we go down here, that's when things get better. It's right here says our values, assumption, shapes, and drive everything we do. Just like I said, when we are born, we are born in an environment where we're receiving. We're constantly receiving. And that's what molds who we become if we're not aware that we have been programmed to think, act, and do things a certain way. The other thing, obviously, we see culture a lot in miscommunication, misunderstanding. And I tell people, you know what? The courthouse, the number of divorces in the courthouse will be a lot lower if people understand that each one of the parties are operating from a different level of understanding until they discuss it, until they talk about it, until they make clear what is what is it that you honor, what is it that you value, how would you like to be treated, how would you like to do things. If we don't have that level of understanding, we will always have problems. We will always have disputes. And disputes sometimes so much we see them in the courthouse because people are not able to sit down and come to agreement. And a lot of it is negotiation. What is negotiation? Negotiation is just agreements of mind. That's all it is. I agree, you agree, we're both winners. Let's keep working. So here, culture as a tree, like I stated before, and I'll go pretty fast. These are situations, Chinese and American in the workplace. This is where I want to stop. I've worked with over 131, 35 nationalities throughout my life in capacity of sales and leadership. And every time I work with a client, of course, in sales, what is the most important thing is closing the deal. And we all are in sales. And then I've noticed that between this person and that person, there's a huge difference on how they get to the yes. And my job, my role was to understand what is that process for me to make it smooth, to make it faster. So I flew to England and I became a certified cross-cultural trainer in the Lewis model. And the Lewis model, there are so many models that I honor and cherish and I take from them. But I found this model very straightforward, very simple, and it outlines the culture blocks in the world. So we have on top of here, we have multi-active cultures. We have linear, I don't see this here, linear, this is where it is here. And then we have in the yellow, we have reactive. Well, what does this mean? Well, you will find people who are in the the red one. Let me get to it that way. Did I? Okay. This one here, the linear active. They're task-oriented, highly organized planners, focused on action change, doing one thing at a time, and more of agenda type of people. They will talk what they need to. And a lot of these models, we see them in North America, Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and some parts of Europe. And of course, as you go from one country to another, they will be different. Then you have the multi-active. My multi-actives are a lot of people in the world. You're talking about Africa, Latin America, you're talking about parts of Asia, and also the Arab world. They deal with emotions, they talk a lot, they act based on impulse. And this is again general because I will mention something. If you get this part, if you're not aware about the personality profile you're dealing with, then you're just going to mess it up because you're always going to be thinking of, oh, well, somebody that was born, okay, let's say, for example, my example, I was born in Morocco. So Morocco is considered part of this bracket here, multi-actives. And we are so warm, friendly, we talk and we're relationship oriented. Agendas, we really don't care about agendas. Time is fluid, all of that. So that's the general understanding. However, when I took my cultural profile test, I found out that my test came out 555, which means I am part of this world, part of that world, and part of this world. Meaning I can operate in any of these three with fluency, no problem. Just because I've been exposed to so many cultures and I got to understand what they're about. So one time I remember there was a Japanese, I was giving a workshop at a university, and there was a Japanese student, and we were talking in general here, and when he took his personality profile and matched it with the cultural profile, it came out the opposite of what Japanese are known for. So get the culture because that the culture molds who we are and how we operate in the big scheme of things. However, when you are dealing with someone, I'd like you to understand that they have particular personality profile. If you're dealing with disc profile, for example, assessment, you'll get a D personality in multi-active culture will be operating differently from a D personality in the United States or in reactive cultures. So you've got to understand how the personality profile, how is it shaped by the culture they're operating in for you to move forward with ease and with no issues. And obviously reactives, a lot of reactives are in Asia, parts of Asia. Take out Pakistan, take out India, take out Bangladesh, and several of those countries. You'll find it in China, Japan, Korea. Patient, good listeners, and basically a harmony. At the end of it, a harmony, safe face. And I believe Doug is familiar with this if he lived in Japan. It's all about harmony and safe face. They listen more than they talk. So with that being said, we've got the basics of the blocks of cultures in the world. But at the same time, when you are in sales, especially in sales, you've got to understand the person you're dealing with and how they make decisions. And that is going to be uh, obvious through knowing who is the person you're dealing with as far as personality profile. I used to use DISC, but I use Bank, and it's just because I find it better for my use. But use whatever personality profile you'd like to, and just be aware that if you're dealing, let's say for example, DISC, the C personality, which is used to order, used to taking their time to make decisions, is not going to be the same as a D profile who are instant and on the go. Here it is again, and by the way, you can take your profile and we're dealing with people and they don't have to be here. They don't have to be here. They don't have to be here. They're somewhat in the middle and they're somewhat somewhere around here. Your job, really, if you're doing in a diverse, if you deal in a diverse environment, is to know the difference between all these and what's happening here. That's how you get to the results you want to get to. This was my profile. I kept it, but it shows that I am aligned well aligned in all three cultures. This here, I put it here for negotiations pattern. And when we are negotiating in the United States, it tells you clearly, okay, world base, we put our cards, little chat, maybe, okay, sarcasm, kidding, okay. Then we go straight, communication happen, then we go straight to the results. Now I'd like you, and I want to point out something here. And this is just an example. Now, in Saudi Arabia or cultures that are similar to Saudi Arabia, multi-active cultures, some of them, not all. You got small talks, then a lot of talks, then you sit, generalize. Maybe it gets bigger again. Some proposals, rhetorics may get tense and then expand again. And then at the end, you may end up with no result. You come back the next day. Why is this very important to understand? And I mean by the moment we're in. We have, Doug, is it okay if I talk about the difference between the United States and the United States in Iran's way of looking at things, or I can't? In terms of negotiation.
It's all open. Yeah, no restrictions. Every country is okay. And just as a time check, we have about 20 minutes, and so
I'm gonna wrap it up right now.
okay. So
Yes.
I think you've raised some really amazing points, and there's some really extraordinary people like Shadman. I see just joined. Thank you, Shadman. You're amazing, and Tomoko and others. And you've really brought up some really excellent points, and definitely any culture is fine to discuss.
Okay. I just want you to understand something. And I know I'm not getting into politics or anything, but if you don't know, ask. if you're going into a market and you don't understand that market, or you have very limited understanding, ask the experts. Here's what I see. The United States went into this situation we're dealing with the mindset, just like I showed on the negotiation. Word, boom, boom, we're done. We're going to go in 4 days. We're going to be done. Well, that's not how it works. You're talking about regime of or civilization or government, whatever you want to call it, of 7,000 years of civilization. You're talking about strategic thinking long term. Long term. There's no such a thing. I'm going in and out. So when we are, and this is, we're past a month of this conflict, and we were told it'll be 1 week and we'll be done. This type or these types of mistakes you cannot afford to do in business, because you are going in with a perception that is normal to you. That's how you operate. And you're using them somewhere where it's totally the difference. You're talking about long-term thinking, strategic, and you know what? We can prolong this as long as we can. And we know how to do it because we survived 7,000 years. So again, I'll bring it back to the business. You going into a market, know what you're dealing with. I was heavily selling in Saudi Arabia, and this is just an example. I'm going to wrap it up with this example. And back then, it was not as open as now. And I used to meet my clients in Dubai. One day, my client said, Mona, we'd like for you to come with us. We have a negotiation with a company coming from Kansas. They're Americans, and your feedback, your help will be so helpful. So I said, sure, let's accompany you. So I went there. We met at a hotel. We're sitting there. Here's my client. Here's and someone else working at his company, and there is the guy that put all the deal together, and all of a sudden, and the engineer who will be working on that project, and all of a sudden we have interpreter coming from England who is Guyanese, and the two Americans came late, two from Kansas. They came, they sat down. No, hi, how are you? No, none of that, none of that. And they went straight to talking about business, how great they are now, that using the interpreter, while those people really do speak English and understand, they did not need to use that interpreter. And that interpreter was an added cost to them, and there was no deal. No deal, absolutely no deal. Why? Because you're coming in into a conversation not prepared, not knowing who you will be talking to, and therefore there is no business. And my client asked after they talking, and they were not even looking to them in the eye. I mean, there was not much eye contact. They're just talking abstract and talking about their product and what they can do, whatever. That's not how you do it. And then at the end, my client looked at me and said, "What do you think?" I said, "I don't know. It's up to you. And I don't feel good about this." And then the remark was, "Well, they're not going to get any business from us." And that's the end of it. So I'm going to stop here because there's a lot of slides, but this hopefully is, hopefully it made you aware of certain things that you may already know, but it just reminds you that when you going out in the world, whether here in the United States, we are a product of immigration in the entire world. I have a map of the United States with a concentration of pockets of culture, and how is the overall vibe and the environment in there, that can one day I can share it with you. But just know, when you go out in the world, you or your way is not the same way as others. Educate yourself, learn, ask questions, and be prepared. Be prepared to meet whoever you are going to meet. At the end of the day, we all want to close business. We all want to do business and make money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mona. Are you able to unshare or Milak
Yeah, I'm going to answer. Yeah.
so that we can have a conversation? So I'd like to open it up. If you could raise your hand, and then we'll just go around the room. I see a couple of you have your hands raised. I just want to say, well, there were multiple things there that you talked about that are, I think, really important. The first thing you started out by talking about is that the world is very fragmented and there are forces that are trying to tear us apart. And war certainly is part of that. But you talked about leadership and our ability to bring people together. And a lot of that is understanding these differences. And rather than isolate other people who are different from us, we have the ability to see that they're people, that they're part of the global tribe, and we can pull them together. So thank you for bringing that very important point for all of us to remember, is that we all have that opportunity. Within Global Chamber, it's easier. Outside of Global Chamber, in your local community, it can be harder to do that because there's forces that are isolated and don't have these kinds of understandings. So thank you for bringing that up. Let's start. I see Tomoko, and I thought I saw Tomoko had your hand raised. Tomoko, would you like to make a comment first? And then I think there was another hand, but I don't see it. Giorgio, maybe next.
Thank you. I was actually complimenting and thanking for her presentation, but I'd love to make a comment too. Thank you so much, Mona, for sharing your insight. Couple things that really stood out to me was, first of all, how we all are aware to some degree that how different people in Japan, for example, versus people in the States, United States, try to do negotiation because of the cultural differences. But what stood out to me was the DISC, the personality type in different cultural contexts could people behave differently, even though you may have same personality type based on the DISC test, which is very intriguing. So, for example, I consider myself multicultural, living in Japan as well as the States and Canada. When I took the DISC test while I was in Japan and growing up versus here, the result was different. And then, but overall, I think I've come to be, certain personality type. But then when I'm dealing with different people from different culture, I behave differently. So it's very, very complicated, right? It's not just personality when the culture layer is added. And another thing that happened just 2 nights ago, I was on a group Zoom call with somebody, American person and two people from Japan. And so true about a couple of last slides that you shared, how American people tend to negotiate, kind of jump right in. On the very first meeting, they met these two people, and everybody kind of froze because the relationship has not yet built at all, just met on Zoom, right, for the first time, and this American person just went right in and wanted to start negotiating, and everybody was like taken aback. And then me understanding kind of both sides felt very, very uncomfortable knowing how, there was no bad intention, but it was like, well, this doesn't work here. So, yeah, thank you.
Welcome. And I do have a presentation, a deep presentation on personality profile based on bank, and that's what I use. Hopefully one day I can share it with you, and it will open up your mind to more things because at this point in life and at this juncture and at this whatever we're living right now, there are a lot of noise around us. It becomes very important to know who we are, what we stand for, and how can we contribute to a better world.
Really, really good points. Does anybody else have any comments? I know Arturo, it's good to see you. This is something that you've been studying over and through your PhD. Congratulations on all of your work. Arturo's in Guanajuato, Mexico. Do you have any comments based on what you've been hearing here?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here, and it's great to see you all. It's amazing to hear about this topic because this is actually what I am studying. Yes, and I just have one comment. Within the language, we have register. Register is you don't talk the same way to your friends as your parents or as people you just met. You are different in all those three levels. So that's very difficult to try to guess, if you are going into a different culture, the way you are addressing anybody else. Perhaps in English you have you talk to you express the you as for anybody, for everybody is the same. But if you come to Mexico, you have usted, which is a most respectful way to address other people or people you just met. And that just establishes that line of respect, like your elders. You talk to them about usted, excuse me, usted, with that respect. And in English is like you. So Americans are used to just thinking that everybody is you.
How in Tomoko, how many layers are there in Japan? There's way more than two or three.
That's true. And how you are supposed to use their last name versus first name depends on the relationship. And, as you said, elder versus hierarchical relationships within organizations or within really social status, family, friend versus relatives. There's so many layers, Doug, as you know, you can't even count.
So Mona, there
So
are certain cultures that have this built in, right? This kind of
Yeah. Yeah, well, you are going to see, and again, individualistics, what do they value? It's individualistic. Equality, even in their negotiation style, even in getting consensus, you are going to see, okay, layers going just like that. This one, maybe this, talking to this one. That's individualistic societies. When you are talking about collective or collectivism, like we have in Japan and also in Mexico and other parts of the world, you're talking about status within the community. Okay. And this is where you see variation of language. And my advice is always, if you don't know, first observe. Observe well, and then ask questions. And if you ask questions, everybody will be happy to answer them for you if you don't know. So that's what it is. Observe, listen, watch, ask, and just do the right thing by the people. And when I go into any place, I pretend I don't know anything. And I just ask a lot of questions. Um, and I build good relationships with people. At the end of the day, they're people. They're people just like you and I. They have aspirations, they have goals, they have dreams, they have wishes, and everybody wants to be treated the right way. But the right way for you may not be the right way for that culture. That's why I always ask, know how they do it for you to succeed.
So Shadman Bashir runs the international student program at Utah Tech University. She's from Pakistan originally, lands in the US and goes to Las Vegas, which has one culture. He settles in southern Utah, which within Utah has its own culture, and Southern Utah has its own culture within the Utah culture. I mean, I've heard that there's 14 cultures within the US. I think there's way more than that. I know in Japan, there's dozens of cultures. So we've got all these 195 countries. We've got all these different cultures within. Don't even start with India, right? Or Pakistan. Shadman, what would you like to comment? Congratulations on your ability to navigate all of these.
Thank you very much. And I must admit, for the last 5 minutes, I was trying to see how do I raise my hand. So I'm trying to search everything, and I also want to make sure that I look smart and impressive without being seen. I'm like, I've never raised my hand. And then I tried to raise my hand like this because I was like, what do I do? So finally, I found it, but I was like, I had to mention it. That I was trying to learn it. So again, very interesting. Again, thank you very much for all the comments. And I work quite a bit with Japan, in the Middle East, Spain. And there's also another layer that, when we communicate, and thank God we have a very successful program. And I'm going to talk about the layer as well as what this conflict has shifted for international education. The conflict that's happening right now, and things which were not very acceptable are now being acceptable. Number one, when I interact with the Middle East, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, my primary audience or market is the expats. So when we think about Saudi Arabia, generally we start thinking the Saudis, but but in Saudi Arabia, most of the people I interact with for business, for academic programs, and all that stuff are expats. So then it creates another layer of understanding because I'm a US citizen, but I'm also from Pakistan. So when I'm interacting with expats from Egypt, from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, India, then it creates a different layer of cultural understanding and approach because, yes, they are in Saudi Arabia. They have been classified within the Saudi system, but they're not Saudis. It's a very different setup because they are there, but they are not, there's the sense of ownership is not there. That's one part of it. The second one is that because of that, us being different, it creates another sense of connection. And that connection also creates more levels of trust, which do help in negotiation and the favorable strategic outcomes for us and others. That's one part of it. So again, layers like that. The other point is that with this conflict in the last couple of years, when the West became more difficult to enter from international students and international programs, many of the universities in the West, Australian, US, British, they set up shop in UAE and Saudi Arabia. So they have small campuses where students can enroll and they could get the same degrees. Now, with this conflict, suddenly that becomes a risk. Now I'm getting approached for online programs, which was a big no-no a month ago. Now, what's happening is now this idea of that region being a safe haven, where you were close to South Asia because you were 3 hours away, that has gone down. The trust in the system has gone down. And now I'm being approached for, hey, the parents now want their kids to study online because, number one, the schools are closed, universities are closed, everything has shifted, and they do not want the students to waste time by staying at home. So they want to enroll in online programs. So again, conflict, movement, all of those things do create opportunities. It's sad, but those opportunities are there. And the key would be as businesses, as people who work on expansion of their own programs, we need to look at that and take advantage of that. Thank you.
You're on, Mona.
Am I expected to answer or no? Can you hear me? Yeah. I mean, I do agree. I do agree exactly what you just mentioned, that safety mindset has changed, and there will be a lot of changes. There will be lots of changes we will see in the near future, and hopefully we are ready, or at least training our minds to adjust to the new world. And there will be a lot of opportunities, I can tell you that much. And there will be new countries in this world. With any conflict anywhere in the world, there are always new countries that emerge and new markets that emerge. So you just have to understand the world we operated in and move based on that concept. Is Doug here?
He's getting more coffee.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna waiting for Doug to get back to close out. One of the things I've learned as a broad brush I've got the advantage of 3 kids and 7 grandkids. When you start talking, I've always stopped and said, "What?" I don't say, "What did I say?" I say, "What did you hear?"
Yeah.
So you can at least find a single point that works between what you're saying and what they're hearing. A very good example is I'm working with an 8-year-old grandson, and he didn't understand why we had to go around the Earth with Artemis 2. I said they're just going to check everything and make sure it's all right before they take off. So I asked him, "Do you understand that?" "Not really, but I think I understand it." And today, right, they had an engineering problem with the toilet that they had to fix before they left. So I gave the example of what I said versus what you hear, and they fixed it. So the comment would be saying, "What did you hear?" versus "What did I say?" Especially when you're talking in different cultures, because what they hear is not necessarily what you say. Doug's back.
I like your backdrop, by the way, much better than what you had before. Congratulations on the upgrade. Mona, we have just a couple minutes. Do you mind? I'm glad I could make your day. You look younger too. You get a good backdrop like Mona, and Mona. I don't know what age she is. She looks like she's 25. Having a
Oh
good
God.
means a lot. And also Mona uses color to her benefit. Jim is not a very colorful clothing person, right? But Mona, you're there. You have presence. And so thank you for having presence today and introducing us and sharing some really great ideas. What would you like to say to wrap things up?
We just have to be, number one, this is how I am approaching everything that I do right now. Gratitude, good energy, and know that we live in a world, in a village where we all have the same aspirations. We may be approaching them differently, but we all have the similar goals of thriving, of abundance, of everything good in this life. And we want to act according to that concept and also go into the world with the best attitude that we have.
Gratitude, good energy, and we are part of a global village, what we call the global tribe. There's a thread that runs through all of us, through all of these cultures that's so important to remember. And these days, it's hard sometimes to see it, but we need to continue to see it and to lead through it. Could you mention about what you've got coming up, Mona, the event that you've got on the
Yes. Yeah, on the 17th of April here in Orlando, we are organizing our first Women in Leadership, Women in Global Business and Leadership. We have several speakers, and Jim is part of one panel, and I'll be speaking as well. But it will be a summit for access, roadmap, knowledge, tools, and how do we go about expanding our business, our pursuit outside of our culture zone. That's what it will be. If you know people who would like to attend, people who aren't here, by all means, please reach out. We want to make sure that at least we have 100 inside that room. Is very strategic. We are picking the right people, and whoever needs to be in an environment of growth, environment of ideas, not only ideas, but ideas and tools and strategies they can act upon to get them to where they want to be. Come, stop by, send us people.
Mila's working with Mona to have that up on our page if it's not already. So on the April 17th, Global Chambers supportive of that and part of that program. Thank you, Mona. The rest of the week, we only have one more Globinar, and that's tomorrow at the same time as today. It's similar but different topic. It's about what is happening in the world, what's happening with trade and exporting and foreign direct investment. How are these factors, this conflict, major conflict, impacting trade? We have 5 experts who will come in and talk, and hopefully you'll be able to attend as well and both listen and learn and share your perspectives. We love to hear from different parts of the world. It's always very helpful for us to better understand. Thank you, Mona.
Thank you. I'm glad that I was able to share some thoughts, and hopefully it helped.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mona. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Doug.